The overwhelming fear, the shame, the heartache, the just overwhelming feeling of what am I going to do now? Starting over after divorce is literally a time that we start to look at ourselves and have so many questions. But I'm here to tell you, you can do it. You can stand on your own 2 feet again. Three ways to reinvent yourself and start over after divorce. My name is Tricia Daniels, and not only am I an MBA with over 23 years experience as a financial controller and in public accounting, but I've also started over. I'm a single mother who has started over not once, but twice. I am a single mother who has also started over as a single parent with debt and overcome it 3 times. I am also a single mother who has literally started over after being laid off from my job. I understand fear. I understand the overwhelm and I understand the unknown. But again, I'm here to tell you that you can do it too, because I've combined my financial experience along with my own personal story to come up with ways to show you that you can stand on your own 2 feet also. My father's a financial planner. And literally, when I was 3 years old, he looked to the side of himself at church, saw my sister and I with my mother. He knew that they were going through the process of divorce. And so when he looked to my sister and I, he wanted to make sure that we stood on our own 2 feet, because in his office, he would have women come in all the time who were suddenly divorced or their past spouse suddenly passed. And they're like, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do? I have no idea. So we wanted to ensure that he gave us the tools to, again, stand on our own 2 feet in case there was a life change. And I'm here to share them with you. We're going to go through those 3 steps with 2. 2 is not only the number 2, that you stand next to somebody else your entire life, and you're always have to have 2 people to financially stand strong. No, 2 is your own 2 feet. So first, we're going to start with the letter T, trust. I went there first. Yes, I did. Because trust, when we're starting over, especially after divorce, there is no trust. We have very, very little trust in other people, let alone ourselves. We have spent so much time putting all of our faith and trust into literally somebody else, a relationship, a way of living, that we're filled full of fear to all of a sudden be by ourselves and think, I can't do this. How am I going to trust other people, let alone myself, to be able to do this? But you can. You can do it. But first, you must take that first step and learn to trust yourself again. Get out a piece of paper and write at the top, trust, and literally put down 3 feelings of why you don't feel trust even in yourself. And then I want you to write down 3 more feelings that describe how you're going to trust yourself again. Because you can do it through confidence, literally building your confidence in yourself, reliability, knowing you have safeguards in place to trust yourself again. The list can go on and on, but what is on your list? What is on your list? First, we have trust. Next, we have W. Or who are you? Who are you now? We always put our identity into somebody else when we're married. Rarely ever do we see ourselves just by ourselves. We literally always see ourselves as a unit with somebody else. And for some of us, we've lost our identity in somebody else. So then all of a sudden we're alone It's like you look in the mirror and you're like, who am I? I absolutely did this after my number one. I looked in the mirror like, wait, who am I now? I don't recognize myself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I was lost. So that second step is so important of starting to figure out who you are again. And on that same piece of paper, write down who. Who am I? 3 words to describe who you think you were. And now put down 3 words of who you want to be. Strong, confident. But some of these words might be the exact same that you're building for trust. But really sit down with yourself and start to figure out who you are. And if you have children, who do you want your children to see? Because your children will remember this. I was 3 years old when my parents were divorced. So I understand not only from an adult perspective, but from a child perspective, watching your parents walk through this journey is extremely powerful. And as a woman, when your children see that on your own 2 feet, you can confidently stand again and be strong, that's amazing. They can see for themselves that they'll be able to do it too. If something in life throws them a curveball, they'll be able to find their who. So first, trust, finding that trust in yourself again. Next, finding your who. Who am I? Who am I? Doing the identity work for yourself. And last step is take ownership. Now, this can mean a lot of things, and this can be really, really hard sometimes. But until you take ownership, you're really not going to be able to move forward. And what I mean by ownership is first, ownership of in the past. Now, not everything is somebody else's. And I cannot tell you how many times, remember what they used to tell you? Don't point at somebody because you have 3 fingers pointing back at you. But how much of it is true? Literally in life, when we start to look at other people, we need to look at ourselves first. Because yes, there's a lot of circumstances, and I understand this very well. There are things that happen outside of our control. However, we still need to literally acknowledge it, understand it, and then understand yourself. Any role that you played or did not play. But looking at those pasts so that you can move forward. I describe it as this. When you're going down a road, sometimes there's a lot of potholes. And in my state, there's a lot, there's a lot. But until you start to fill in those potholes, your ride, your way to travel forward will not be smooth. And if you have a lot of wounds, for not taking ownership of your own road, and until you take ownership of that own road and you start to fill in those potholes, whether it's with counseling, whether it's with podcasts, books, YouTube videos, until you start to really do that inner work and take ownership of your own actions, of your own feelings, of your own future, that road will not be smooth. So start to think, write down on that piece of paper, ownership. Write down take ownership of 3 things in your past that literally like, okay, I acknowledge that. For me, one was communication. Horrible at communication and expressing my feelings. So that was one thing. It wasn't specific at a specific time. I knew in general, communication was something I needed to work on. I took ownership of that and started to work and started to do the work. So after the separation, my number 2, I literally spent another 7 years on working on my communication and be able to open, because I wanted those potholes filled so that my future, my road would be smoother. Write down 3 things from your past and 3 things you want to take ownership of in your future. And part of those can be around wealth. Again, I'm a financial controller. I'm a numbers nerd. I love to talk about money. And as a woman, being able to stand on your own 2 feet financially is huge. You can do it too. 2, TWO, trust, why, and ownership. Because you too can stand on your own 2 feet and starting over after divorce. My name is Tricia Daniel. Please click on subscribe. Follow me for more tips and guidance in your starting over journey, so you literally can plant yourself back into rich soil so you can thrive again, starting over wealth.